And welcome to another episode of the Body and Mind Sports Show. I'm your host, The Mind, and with me is my co-host, The Body. Body, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mind. We got plenty of goodness this week.
Absolutely we do. This is a crazy week for sporting news. Before getting into it, if you do enjoy our show, please remember to like and even subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Join the army of the Mind and Bodyers. Today's show, first of all, we'll be talking about a tribute to Bobby the Brain Heenan, recently passed away. So both of us being wrestling nuts, it'll be fun remembering the greatness of Bobby the Brain. After that, we are doing our NFL Week 2 review, then also a preview for week number 3, and then we'll be talking in segment 5, Calgary arena blackmail issue.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, Calgary's trying to build a new arena, and as usual, the city and the owners are fighting. Surprise, surprise.
And the NHL's involved too.
Yeah, surprise.
Oh, no surprise there, yeah.
So we'll be talking a bit about that. We'll also do a quick rundown on the new Atlanta MLS team and the record that they set actually this past week. Then we'll get on to our fight of the week, which will be on Giancarlo Stanton's attack on Barry Bonds' home run record. We'll be talking a little bit about some NBA, Kyrie versus LeBron, and we'll also be talking about Kevin Durant versus himself. And we finally end our show, as always, with our epic and our suck of the week. Basically, the one sports moment that we think was epic and the one sports moment that we thought sucked.
And there was a lot to choose from this week.
That is true. So let's get started. Bobby the Brain. Body, what do you got on good old Bobby the Brain?
The Brain was a favorite of mine. When I was a younger wrestling fan and just, an absolute mark, which I was for a long time. At first, I liked good guys, so I hated the Brain, but there was a love-hate relationship because he was so entertaining. And once I became a full-fledged fan of villains, loved the Brain. The Brain, well, the Brain was fantastic. He was absolutely awesome. A voice of wisdom, such quotes as, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, and there's 3 sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth. Interesting thing is for a person whose persona was as a heel or a villain, as a person, a man of great integrity. In 1984, he was in the American Wrestling Association, and when Vince McMahon hired him to join the WWF during a talent raid, he was one of the few, if not the only people in the AWA to give his notice. McMahon was paying talent to actually just vacate without notice and go straight to his company to crush the competition. Bobby Heenan actually gave his full 6-week notice and left in good graces with the Gagne family who was running the AWA.
That's amazing. That's somebody that was technically in the ring as despicable and as despised and one of the nastiest managers of all time. Turns out to be, like, outside of the ring, one of the most decent and honorable people that you could imagine.
Yeah, it's amazing. Wrestling's kind of ironic like that. You hear about how some of the people are villains and some of the people who are the most popular heroes out of the ring are actually despicable people away from it.
And you were mentioning too that he basically actually even left school early to basically support his family.
Yeah, grade 8 dropout, and I believe he was supporting his mom and his grandmother when he went out to work.
Right. Yeah.
So that's quite amazing.
No, that's insane, and I mean that's just amazing for anyone like that young too, like dropping out of high school, and you're doing it not because you're sick of school or whatever, like you're doing it to actually like you're helping your family, like. So it just goes to show, like, in the ring, yeah, the weasel, everybody will love to hate him, but outside the ring, it's like pretty much nobody can really have a bad word to say about this man.
No, an amazing human being from everything we see.
Yeah, he was he was 72 when he died over this weekend. I believe he's been battling some issues with cancer. I think throat cancer.
I think that
was some of the health issues he was going through. But he was a member of the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004, and some notable achievements is actually in his career, he basically ended up managing for all of the major promotions, really. Getting a start with the World Wrestling Association, kind of a more regional promotion off in Indianapolis area from the late 60s to mid-70s. And then he joined the AWA, American Wrestling Association, for a 10-year stretch from 74 to 84. Then went to the World Wrestling Federation for another 10 years. And then he basically ended his wrestling career with World Championship Wrestling from 94 to 2000.
He also had a brief stint in the old NWA in around 1979. They did an angle in the AWA where they said he was barred.
Okay.
And he went and worked in the Georgia area of the NWA for a year around 1979.
Nice. So he literally hit all the big ones. Because, I mean, at one point, the NWA, that was the wrestling promotion in the world. I mean, the WWF, they were just, they're really just a regional New York promotion. So, I mean, did the NWA, AWA, WWF, and then WCW. So pretty much you could not ask for a more extensive career.
And he was also voted 4 times the Manager of the Year in Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, 1972, 76, 89, and 91. And in Wrestling Observer newsletter, Best Color Commentator, 92 to 94. And I believe all those awards are actually fan voted.
Yeah, so there you go. No surprise. I mean, I know I was watching him, like he was always a guy that at first when I was like more of the good guys, I would despise him and hate him with every fiber of my being. And then later on, I got to appreciate basically, especially his interviews with Mean Gene Okerlund, when Mean Gene would constantly be like calling him out on all this BS basically, and Bobby's reaction would always be to almost kind of like have a panic attack.
Yes.
Because he would start to panic and he start becoming like super defensive. And what are you talking about, Mean Gene? I didn't say that. That's not what I said. What? What are you saying now, Bobby? You calling me a liar? You were right here on this microphone last week. I didn't say anything like that. And the whole thing would just fall apart. And the interactions between Mean Gene and Bobby the Brain were absolute gold.
Another classic one they would do, because Heenan had the nickname the Weasel. That fans just cascaded him with. Yeah. And sometimes he'd be standing there during an interview with Mean Gene, and Mean Gene would go to say something, and he wouldn't even know what it is. And he would come up, "You're going to call me a weasel, weren't you?" "No, I wasn't. No, you're going to call me a weasel. I think you're getting paranoid." "No, I'm not paranoid. You're going to call me a weasel. Don't call me a weasel." Those two had fantastic chemistry.
They did. I mean, that whole, Bobby the Brain having that constant paranoia just came through, and it was hilarious to watch every single time. And even when he was in the ring, like outside managing one of his wrestlers, he would be constantly like talking trash with the fans, like nonstop during the entire match. He'd be talking trash with the fans, with the refs, with the other wrestlers, with the comment. Like everyone got abused. It was fun to watch.
There will never be another one like that.
Yeah, he will definitely sorely be missed. But happy for all the great wrestling moments that Bobby the Brain gave us.
Yes, you'll be missed.
Next, we will be doing our NFL Week 2 review. So starting with Week 2.
Oh, the Thursday Night Throwdown.
Oh, my Lord.
Much as expected, they dragged the league back to 1977.
This is the Houston-Cincinnati game.
That's about all I have to say about it. Progress, you didn't see it in this game.
No, this game definitely resembled back to the beginnings of professional football when the forward pass was actually against the rules.
This would have been a performance Fred Flintstone would have been proud of.
I had to put my money on Twinkle Toes Flintstone to score a touchdown in that game against either team. That was absolute pitiful. That's a game that you show to people that you're trying to get information out of.
Don't show me the second corner. Where is he?
I'll tell you anything you want. Just don't make me watch that. So next we have Cleveland-Baltimore. Do we care about this game?
Yeah, not really.
No, let's skip it. Buffalo-Carolina.
Carolina's offense has just been atrocious.
Yeah.
I haven't got to see Carolina so far, and from what I've heard, I've been thankful. Cam hasn't been running. He hasn't been thrown to his backs.
I know one comment I heard about Carolina this week. Well, Olsen.
And now Olsen's out.
Got injured, and it sounds like he's going to be out until probably December.
Yeah, I believe he's on IR, yes.
So there's another kick in the teeth for Carolina's offense. And one thing I heard that I thought was interesting is people mentioning that Cam Newton had some surgery in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying that because of it, that's part of the reason for the slow start is he's still kind of getting his mechanics back after the surgery. What do you think?
That would make sense. That could be part of it. I think another part of it is, from what I hear, he hasn't been running as much, and that makes sense. He wants to protect himself. The other thing I've heard is that he hasn't been throwing to his backs out of the backfield too much, and McCaffrey and the other kid there, I can't remember his name, it escapes me right now. I think it's Samuels. I think Samuels lining up more in the slot. They're really good out of the backfield, but that's just never been Newton's game to dump off like that.
Right. So basically, yeah, I guess Cam never really clock manager, game manager type guy.
No, it's downfield or take off the ball.
Yeah. All right, so that's that game. Indianapolis and Arizona. Got nothing there. I can't believe it was actually close. It's the only comment I have on that one. Tennessee and America's team, otherwise known as Jacksonville.
America's team let me down, but Blake Bortles couldn't stay out of the way. Tennessee looked like Tennessee kid when they're playing well. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I love that Jaguars defense, but if the offense gets in the way, it could be like so many other teams in the NFL right now. You can only stay on the field so long before you give way.
Well, this is interesting because this is one where we were wondering last week, like, where are these two teams going?
Mm-hmm.
Because Tennessee, had the unexpected loss in week 1, I think, and Jacksonville had the unexpected win.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, so this week the whole thing turns around. Now Tennessee suddenly has offense and wins, and Jacksonville's offense vanished completely. And
well, I don't even think their offense is there week 1 either. They benefited from the turnovers, and Tennessee with their running game just wasn't going to turn it over.
Okay, so week 1, you just figured it was a case of...
I had too much faith in Jacksonville's defense to pull it off last week, and that's just being too much on
Yeah.
them.
Next, we got Philadelphia and Kansas City.
Philadelphia, strong showing on the road against the Chefs there. They really got to Alex Smith a lot and pressured him. Kansas City, tough place to win, and the Chiefs prevail and go 2-0 in the group of death, known as the AFC West.
The group of death. That's a good name for this group. Yeah, definitely. Philadelphia looks like they are a team that's going to be tough this year still.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing a lot of people, I guess, were wondering is, Wentz, is he still going to suffer the old second-year sophomore jinx? But so far, so good. The team is competitive and will be a challenge for anybody that they take on.
Well, I think it fell apart for them last year when Lane Johnson, their the offensive tackle, got the 10-game PED suspension. The offensive line fell apart, and it all fell apart from there.
Good. Next, we got New England and New Orleans, the two new teams.
Yeah, with no new results, New England wins again. New Orleans gives up points. Same old, same old.
Oh, and it's amazing that, when a team is winning like New Orleans used to do, it masks all kinds of other issues. But now we start hearing that there's apparently some infighting as far as the family even that owns the Saints.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the owner of the Saints, I forget his name, but I guess he's now a little older, and I guess he isn't physically able to manage the team like he did. So apparently his children now are kind of fighting over control of the team, and it turns out it does, and it sounds like there's really no one kind of really at the helm right now.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a fun fact I heard today. Since 2007, Drew Brees and Eli Manning have combined to go 0-2 to start the season 11 times between them.
There's no surprise with good old Eli, because that seems to be the thing with the Giants. They either win the Super Bowl or they miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Which they look like they're going to the latter, but we'll get to their joy later.
Oh, will we ever. Minnesota and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no Sam Bradford, no chance.
That's good. I don't like talking to Pittsburgh, so that's enough of that. Chicago and Tampa Bay.
Oh, man. Yeah, Tampa's talent shone through. Didn't matter what Mike Lennon knows if they even tapped into it. He turned the ball over, and Tampa just dominated them.
Yeah, exactly. Like that whole thing we were wondering, will the Glennon factor about him knowing the Tampa playbook?
No factor.
Nothing. It's like either they completely change their playbook this year, or it's like, you know what, Glennon? Doesn't matter what you know. You know the plays we're going to run, and we're still going to run it down and stuff your face.
Yeah, it was just a beatdown.
Do you think there's any hope for Chicago?
I think they're going to play some close games at home this year. I don't know if they're going to win. They have nothing at wide receiver. On the road, they're done.
Their defense starting to resemble the old Chicago Midway.
Oh, no,
monsters.
I wouldn't say that, but I think they could be a pretty respectable defense.
Yeah.
Going to be issues, though, if the offense can't hold on to the ball. Defense can only stay on the field so long.
That is true. Eventually, the human body tires.
Yes.
Next we got Miami and the Clippers.
Miami with a season debut win. Yeah, the Clippers just, they can't sink the winning bucket at the end. This has actually been a problem for them last couple of years. Lots of close games lost, missed field goals, and some bad clock management late in the game by Anthony Lynn.
For those of you unaware, we call them the Clippers because the LA Chargers now have the same initials as the basketball team, which we find incredibly ridiculous. Equally ridiculous is the fact that they're playing in StubHub Field, home of the MLS Los Angeles Galaxy, which is a 27,000-seat stadium, which they did not sell out.
No.
25,000 people is the best they could do.
Yeah, here's a fun fact. Between the Chargers and the Rams this weekend, they combined to draw less people than USC did for their Saturday night game against Texas in the NCAA.
Good call, putting two teams in Los Angeles. NFL.
Way to go.
Well done.
And speaking of group of death, the Chargers 0-2 in the division with 3-2-0 teams. They might be on the way to a slow death.
That is a team. That is a division in which you cannot falter.
No.
You cannot have, because Kansas City, Oakland, and Denver, all three are just dominating right now for three completely different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an amazing division. So yeah, it looks like right now the Clippers are already in trouble.
Not the right division to show up with an NBA team in.
Yeah. Next we got the Jets and the Raiders.
Happy with the Raiders' convincing win. You know what concerns me though? Seeing the Jets put up 20 points.
Yeah.
I thought the defense played pretty well, but just seeing that kind of concerns me. So we'll see.
Yeah, I must say I was surprised actually seeing 20 points right now in that game being scored by the Jets. I don't know how it happened because I was switching between a couple of different games. And when last I left Oakland, they had a comfortable and commanding lead, and suddenly I come back, and it's like, what the 20 points?
Yeah,
the lead do that.
The lead was always commanding. Maybe it was just garbage time, but when you see some of the way some of the defenses are playing this year so far, and you see the Jets scoring 20, I don't know if the Jets will have a month where they score 20 after this.
And think about this: so far, the Jets after two games are vastly outscoring their New York cousins.
They are.
So Oakland defense still a question mark.
Mm-hmm. I think they were decent, but yeah, I'm just not convinced yet.
Next we got Dallas and Denver. So Denver running defense.
It's given up 104 yards in 2 weeks.
Not bad. That sounds pretty good.
That's actually quite incredible. They picked up a couple of huge defensive linemen in the offseason. Sometimes it's not the glorified pass rushers or big time players. It's those meat and potato guys who make a big difference. And you pair up Petco, who they picked up from Cincinnati, and one or two other pickups, and then match up that no-fly zone pass defense. That could be a special defense by the end of the year.
Love the term, no-fly zone.
Oh, yeah. That could be special.
There ain't no peanuts on this airline.
Oh, no. No.
That's fantastic. And he also had a thought on lazy Zeke.
Oh, lazy Zeke. Oh, man. Yeah.
That was abysmal watching that.
That was. I think he'll bounce back, and he better bounce back for the Cowboys to have a chance. And just with everything going on right now,
yeah.
Even if he is cleared in that whole thing, he's made some bad decisions. And when you're making bad decisions off the field, you have no wiggle room for making bad decisions, a lack of effort on the field.
And that's the thing with good old Zeke. For those of you who didn't get to see the highlight, basically there was an interception thrown on one play, and basically everybody in the Cowboys went running after the interceptors to try to make a play, except for Zeke, who just kind of hung out, put his hands on his hips, and just stared at the sky in frustration, obviously, and did not move a muscle.
Ezekiel Wheeler's day off.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Some people are giving him a pass because A, he's a young guy. Two, he was extremely frustrated in that game by just being completely shut down by Denver. And three, there's also, he's got a lot of stuff going on outside of football right now, occupying his mind.
I say no excuse. That's an excusable lack of effort, but I do think he'll bounce back.
Yeah, so that's good. So we'll be on the lookout, see how Zeke bounces back from this. Next, we got Washington against that other LA team, the Rams.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk about this as much as anyone in LA wanted to show up and watch it.
Which was not that much.
No, not really.
Oh, man, it's incredible because I tuned into that game for a brief moment, and once again, it's like the stadium, I don't know what the announced attendance was, but that's like you're saying 80-some thousand.
Yeah, it was 84,000 for the college game. They said it was a sellout.
Yeah, so Trojans getting 84,000, so it literally looked like it was half full to me. So, I mean, we're talking like 40,000 basically. So, yeah, so with the 40,000 there in the Rams and the other 25,000, we got 65,000 in two games. The Trojans blew them apart by about 20,000 people.
And just thinking about this now, was that people who showed up to see the Rams, or are those just people who hung over and passed out from the game the night before and they just left them in the stadium to fill seats?
See, this is why the body's on the show. This is the kind of winning analysis you don't get anywhere else.
Well, I'm not just another pretty body. One pack and all.
Work on that one pack, boy.
Work on that one pack.
I guess Washington, are they for real? Are they a contender in the group of death there?
Well, Washington NFC East, we'll see how it plays out. They're better than the G-Men. We know that, but that's not saying much.
No, right now the Jets are better than the G-Men.
Yeah.
that sink in.
We'll see. That's a good question. I think they'll stay in the hunt.
Oh, all right. San Francisco, Seattle. What do you think of that?
Man, Russell Wilson should sue his offensive line for non-support. This is what the Seahawks get for spending less on their offensive line than any other team has in the last few years.
It shows.
It shows.
Yeah, there's that old term. Was it you get what you pay for?
Yeah, and Seattle's getting what they paid for.
Which is not much.
kind of comes back to what I was saying about Denver. It's not just all about the skill and the stars. You need meat and potatoes, guys. Games are won in the trenches. I don't care how skilled you are. You can't do anything if you don't have time and blocking.
Right now, I don't know what kind of potatoes that Seattle has right now, because there's even like those like little mini potatoes. They're like really delicious and yummy, and they don't even have those.
No.
Like there's nothing delicious or tantalizing or memorable about.
No, just like the instant mashed potatoes out of a box that aren't real mashed potatoes because they don't have time to grow potatoes.
Actually, I think they're like the mashed potatoes that you forgot about in the back of your cupboard, and the expiry date ended like a month ago.
And there's dust on the box and everything.
Yeah, but because it's late and you don't want to actually go out and get food, you figured, what's the worst that can happen? And so you eat them. I think that's the kind of potatoes we're talking about when we're talking about Seattle's offensive line.
And kind of like Seattle's offense, the worst is actually happening.
Next, we got Green Bay and Atlanta, the glamour match.
Oh, the glamour match. Well, the Falcons' offense looked like it was back. Aaron Rodgers had some struggles. Well, Jordan Nelson bounced back from injury. That's a concern. And the Packer defense got ripped apart. But we'll have to see what the real Packer defense is, week 1 or week 2.
Exactly. So is it still time to relax?
I'm trying to relax over here.
Relax. Everybody just relax. Speaking of relaxing, the Giants offense did that against Detroit in the Monday night battle.
Oh, man. Just... The Giants, another pathetic offensive line. Eli, man, I believe, 6 or 7 games in a row the Giants have not passed 20 points? Who does that in this era? Who does that in this era?
Actually, this season, we've gotten off to a lot of horrifyingly bad offenses so far.
We have, but this was happening to the Giants for about half of last season, too. Blocking up front, it's just been horrible. Eric Flowers, the left tackle, should be on the right side. He just got victimized last night. There was one play, he was actually leaning forward in pass protection, and the speed rusher just sped by him. You're supposed to drop back, great. No, he's leaning forward, helpless, fish out of water, victim of circumstance, victim of life. It was horrible.
He's going to need to go on the witness protection plan if this continues.
Well, Eli's going to need the witness protection plan because he's not getting the protection from the offensive line.
So which is a worse line? Would it be the Gigantes or would it be Seattle?
Ooh, that's a good question.
If you put the two of them in the ring, if you put them in a cage match, over the top battle royal between Seattle and the Gigantes, who comes out less?
Well, at least Seattle ran the ball for about 90 yards this week, or Carson did. So at least I think they could actually maybe throw someone over the top rope. So I'll give the edge. I would maybe rather take the Seahawks right now, but yeah. I wouldn't put my life on this decision.
No, but they're coaches.
Well, he's putting his quarterback's life in his decision.
Here's the thing. Who gets fired first? New York or New Orleans?
Well, right now in New Orleans, they'd probably be fighting over who to fire the coach first. That's the situation with the family.
You think New York's coach, what's his name again?
McAdoo. But the Giants are big on stability, though.
Sounds like a receiver.
Yeah, it does. The Giants are huge on stability.
Okay.
I remember a few years ago, the last year that the Giants won a Super Bowl. Early in the year, New York fans were emailing the owner. Was it the owner or the GM to fire?
Doesn't matter. Facts don't matter on this show.
No, we don't like getting in the way of a good story. They were emailing to fire Coughlin. At the end of the year when the Giants won the Super Bowl, whoever got the emails to fire Coughlin actually emailed everyone back who emailed them to fire Coughlin. So the Giants are loyal. So that's a tough call. You got one team that's loyal and another team that doesn't know who's running it. So I think they both survived the year no matter how it goes.
That's crazy. Stay tuned, because now we have NFL Week 3 preview. Let's see if there's any interesting games happening this week. We kick off Thursday night with a stellar, historic, Hall of Fame worthy barn burner.
Oh man, I'd rather set a barn on fire and watch it than this game.
The Rams and the 49ers are not tickling your fancy?
Oh no, another rant against Thursday night. This is what you're subjected to start your weekend with? It's like Thursday night, I'm going into Friday. This is what you're making people watch? Are you kidding me?
Be thankful they're doing this on a Thursday and not on a Sunday, because people just might be suicidal.
Well, no, Sunday be great as long as it's not Sunday night, because Sunday during the day, you can hide it behind the quality games.
But that's the thing. I'm thinking Sunday night. If you made this the Sunday night game, and people are already having enough stress with doing the Monday work thing.
Oh, yeah.
This would be a disaster. So
it would be.
At least they give us this debacle.
If this was Sunday night, Al Michaels would retire. Chris Collinsworth would just take a walk, and Carrie Underwood would quit.
So yeah, it's interesting you bring up the commentating team. Do you think this is an attempt by either the television studio? Like, who does Thursday night games? Who does that belong to? I don't even know.
I believe
what network has it.
Last year was part of the year was NBC, part of the year is CBS. I think it's the same thing this year.
All right, let's say it's the same thing.
But one of the problems they have with Thursday nights, I think every team has to play a Thursday night game.
You mean every shitty team?
Oh, every team, but every shitty team's in there.
So are they trying to get that commentating crew to quit their jobs? Like, is that why they keep giving these abysmal matchups on Thursday every week?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I noticed last week was Mike Tirico and not Al Michaels doing the game.
It makes you wonder if this is like some way of kind of like, letting them go without actually having to pay severance.
If Collinsworth wasn't good, I'd be with that, yeah.
Mm. All right, so
maybe that's what. Well, they got Romo, so that's not what drove Phil Simms off.
Oh, Romo's actually good.
He is, yeah. I still want to watch a game with him. But I've heard bits.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's very good. Yes.
Next we have from jolly old England, Baltimore and Jacksonville. I say there, breakfast in London with the NFL.
Fantastic.
What say you?
Early morning game, tight defensive struggle. I think Baltimore is. I think they've forced, was it 8 or 10 turnovers in the first 2 weeks? Like both defenses, but I'm looking at the way Baltimore turns the ball over, and I'm looking at Blake Bortles. Flip side is Jacksonville. They have this London thing down. They know how to prepare for it. 5 straight years they've been there. They've won 2 years in a row. I think it's going to be a sloppy game, though. Defensive minded. I don't know how much the offense are going to move and move the ball. And you brought up a good point about field condition in this game earlier too, which may contribute to this.
Yeah, because this year they're going to be playing at Wembley Stadium, and one of the London soccer teams, Tottenham Hotspur, that plays in the English Premier League, they're actually getting a new stadium built. So this year they're playing all of their home games at Wembley Field. So they actually just had a game this week on Tuesday. So that means that the crew basically has 4 days to like repair the field in time for an NFL match. And really, when it comes to like NFL abuse of the field, definitely football and soccer are the 2 most field abusing sports out there, because soccer players absolutely destroy a field. When it's over, it looks like landmines were set off all over the place.
That'd be perfect for these 2 defensive teams.
So yeah, with this game, I think the running game is going to be everything, because the field condition, I'm sure the Wembley crew is going to be working 24/7 to get that thing in tip-top shape, but they won't have the usual 2-week window that they usually have to prepare the field. They have 4 days.
One good thing about the Ravens is for the first time in a couple of years, they've committed to their running game again, which is something they should be doing.
Excellent. Next, we got Denver and Buffalo.
Love that Denver defense. Buffalo's defense is playing well too. I like Denver in this game. Just always have to be the wary of the letdown going to a place like Buffalo.
I would think, I don't know, Denver's defense still looking just crushing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking like a video game defense. So I would think that just their overall talent should be able to
That's what I think.
squeeze what little life there is left in Buffalo.
Buffalo's offense hasn't been good either. So
New Orleans and Carolina.
one team can score and can't stop anyone. The other team can't score and plays good defense. What gives? And yeah, I don't have much interest in this game. That's the only question. What gives?
Neither do I. How about we talk about Pittsburgh and Chicago?
Chicago, I think, Pittsburgh doesn't score much on the road. Chicago just doesn't score. I think Pittsburgh wins an ugly, low-scoring game in Chicago.
It's going to be low-scoring, smash-mouth football, you figure.
Yeah.
There you go. For all the fans out there of blood and guts football, this is your game.
Mm-hmm.
What won't be your game is the glamour match of the week, Atlanta and Detroit. I never thought we'd be saying that.
No kidding. I think this will be a good game. Big loss for Atlanta. They lose Vic Beasley, their top pass rusher for a month. Led the NFL in sacks last year. But I still think they have a reasonably good pass rush and defense. This is going to be a really good game. I see Atlanta winning a close one, but yeah, I wouldn't write off Detroit.
I wouldn't either. The Detroit so far has been surprisingly good this year. Just overall, the offense, defense, they seem to actually have it going together.
And they actually ran the ball against the tough run defense of the Giants.
Exactly. And so what I'm wondering is, if Detroit suddenly is going into the season, they've got a good record and they're looking like actual legitimate Super Bowl contenders, does Megatron unretire?
Nah.
Does he unretire to get his ring?
Barry Sanders with him.
Next, we have Cleveland and Indianapolis.
Cleveland's a favorite? Oh, yeah, they're playing Indy. Oh, man. This should be the Thursday night game.
As Spinal Tap once said, "Hello, Cleveland!" And remember what happened to them? They got lost backstage. Never actually even made it to the show. This might be the same thing in this game.
Oh, it's going to be an epic battle in Indianapolis of 2 heavyweights.
If you basically have any paint what needs peeling, do it instead of watching this game. Next, we have Tampa Bay and Minnesota.
Oh, if Bradford plays, I think this one's going to be an amazingly good game. If Bradford doesn't play, I think Tampa goes in with a convincing win.
It'll be an amazingly one-sided game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Case
same.
Keenum isn't cutting it for me.
I mean, it's only one game, but on paper, Tampa Bay just looks to have a pretty amazing offense, and at least in week number 2, which is actually their week number 1, they proved it.
Yeah, no matter what you say, you can't make a case for Case Keenum against me.
And I won't. What I will make a case for is Houston versus New England. D versus O. Belichick versus rookie QB.
It's Belichick versus rookie QB. I think Houston's defense will have some success against New England, but in the end, I think just the Belichick against the rookie QB could be the ultimate deciding factor.
So Houston defense, you figure they got any chance of shutting down the New England offense?
I think this might look a fair amount like the playoff game they played last year.
So next we have Miami versus the Jets. You have a concern about Miami on the road.
The Jets' only chance in this one is the fact Miami's had to spend so much time on the road with Hurricane Irma and playing last week in LA and going to New York this week. That's the Jets' only chance, I think, is all the travel catching up with Miami.
I think right now the Jets' only mission this year is to outscore the Giants.
That might be it. Yeah, I like Miami here, but that's the Jets' only chance.
And speaking of the Giants, they're facing their divisional rivals, Philadelphia, this week.
Oh, divisional beatdown.
Battle!
The Eagles on the road actually pressured Alex Smith, so what are they going to do at home against Eli Manning? Oh, this should just be an epic beatdown.
So I guess the question, will the Giants get over 10 points?
I'm going with the under.
All right. You heard it here first.
Maybe a push. Maybe a push.
So you figure their point scoring right now, you would put them at the spread as 10?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there's a prop bet that's on some games and not on others. I'm going to see if it's on this game. Sometimes there's a prop bet for most combined sacks between both teams.
Yeah.
It's usually at 4.5 or 5.5. Even if it's at 5.5 and it's available, I will take the over 4.5 or 5.5 sacks because I think Philly's going to get most of them. And the Giants might even get a couple themselves with that defense.
There you go. Watch the game, make some money. That's how we roll. What doesn't roll is the Seattle offense. Seattle versus Tennessee is our next game. Unless by rolling you mean like some drunk after a 3-day bender trying to find his house keys in his pocket and trying to open the front door that isn't his house.
Oh, the memories.
But enough about our weekend. Seattle, Tennessee. What do we think?
I like Tennessee in a slugfest game here. I think Seattle's defense, I think both defenses play well. Seattle's got the better defense, but Tennessee has the offense that can actually move the ball and get some first downs and maybe even to parlay it in the field goals and maybe at some point into a touchdown just wearing down Seattle defense.
Ooh, crazy talk.
Maybe. I don't know. I see a really low scoring game here and I like Tennessee in a close one only because it's low scoring.
Nice. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at Green Bay. What do we think about this?
Yeah, I think Green Bay stomps them.
New offensive coordinator for the Devils. They had a mutiny this week. They went to Marvin Lewis and demanded that the current offensive coordinator was the cause of all of their ills, and he had to be fired. He's now been fired. Marvin bowed to the mutiny, to the mutineers, and now we're going to have the amazing Cincinnati offensive attack back.
Well,
you think not?
Well, if the offensive line holds up, sometimes players can be spurred by something like that. I still like the Packers here, but if that was really the result of it, don't write off Cincinnati, but I like Green Bay here.
Yeah, I like I cheer for the Bengals, but yeah, no, it's going to be a Green Bay beatdown. It won't even be close. GB will stand for Great Beatdown, not just Green Bay. Next, we have Kansas City and the Clippers. Another divisional rivalry.
Yeah, I like Kansas City in this one. I think the Clippers could actually give them a pretty tough game because that's a Clippers style hang in there and just let down all half dozen fans they have out there in LA. They'll miss a 3-pointer at the end as usual. And I like the Chefs here.
Will the Clippers get anywhere close to selling out this week?
No.
No.
You can't even sell at the opener. Is there hope?
No. Next, we got Oakland and Washington.
Like my Raiders here, but this is an easy game, and this is the type of Washington could pull the upset here. I like the Raiders, but I wouldn't write off Washington. One thing I do like in this game, I like the over.
Yeah, you think this has shootout potential?
I think this has shootout potential.
Nice. And our last game will be the Monday nighter. Will be Dallas and Arizona.
Yeah, I see Dallas bouncing back and winning. I don't know if it'll be the greatest game, but yeah, I just think he's going to bounce back. If they don't bounce back this week, they're in for a long season because I think everything will snowball.
Well, it's an interesting matchup because we have Arizona that's been pretty weak so far this year, and we have Dallas that realistically they just got bounced by Denver. And who did they beat in week 1?
The Giants.
So is Dallas for real? I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah, well, when I see Dallas winning this game, it's not because of how good Dallas is. It's because of how unconvincing Arizona's been.
And that is our preview for Week 3 of the NFL. Next topic, we have current debate in Calgary. The owners of the Calgary Flames in the NHL, they want to build a brand new arena. And apparently they've been talking with the city for months, and now they've decided the only way to resolve this dispute is by going public.
Yes, apparently the team and the city cannot agree what side of town to build the arena on. What is this, West Side Story revisited, but with an arena?
Jets and Sharks?
Yeah, it's like, what? I want it here. No, I want it here.
I always find it interesting that kind of like the formula that the Calgary Flames are taking is pretty much the same tried and true formula that every single other sports franchise has done to try to blackmail their city into pretty much gifting them an arena.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like you come out public and you say, oh, we've been negotiating in good faith for many months and we just can't abide by the agreements that the city has pointed out. Oh, you mean the agreement where you actually put in some of your own money? Unlike what the Flames want, which is for the city to put in money, the federal government to put in money, the provincial government to put in money, and then introduce some new ticket tax or entertainment tax or whatever they call it, so that the Flames don't actually put any money of their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I find it disgusting. That basically these zillionaires are basically trying to hold the city hostage and now saying that, oh, they're done with negotiating. They're not negotiating anymore. It's over. No more negotiation.
And this comes up the same day that Seattle's talking about refurbishing the Key Arena.
Dr. Evil.
Well, it gets even better because I don't know what kind of crazy remodeling you're talking.
Conspiracy?
Yes. And then the Flames coming out, well, we didn't know they were coming out that announcement that day. We're not aware of this.
Right out of the blue.
Right, yeah, there's plenty of places we could go to. Plenty. Just ask the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh.
Plenty of places for an NHL team to go to.
Like the thriving metropolis of San Antonio, Texas, perhaps.
By the way, speaking of thriving metropolis, which Seattle is, they're talking of refurbishing and remodeling the Key Arena, which would be where the Flames could possibly go. So the Flames organization and the NHL backing them on this, that the Saddle Dome was state-of-the-art when it was built in 1983, but now doesn't have the revenue streams of modern arenas and has become obsolete.
Makes sense.
So
it's a 30-year-old arena.
But they're going to look at an arena, which I don't know what kind of remodeling is going to happen, was built 20 years before the Saddle Dome and opened in 1962.
So a remodeled 50-year-old arena is more palatable to the NHL and the owners of the Flames than the 30-year-old arena currently in Calgary.
Back in the old country, we call that progress.
We also call it another name.
First initial BS, second initial S.
With bull spit.
What? They're remodeling their arena? I don't know. We're just going to announce it that day.
Oh, yeah, no, it was just, Gary Bettman's in town, the commissioner of the NHL. Oh, what a surprise. He's here is also saying that Calgary is doomed and they're going to move.
And he's been planning on coming here for months to say this.
Months! This didn't just happen.
No, months.
No, he didn't just fly all the way from New York to Calgary, which happens to be like 6,000 miles away. I think this gets an epic suck from both of us.
Oh, this is such an epic suck. It doesn't even make it to an epic suck at the end because it's so massive. It's its own entity.
It's its own life form.
It needs shovels. It needs snow blowers. It needs masks so you can breathe properly. This is just horrid.
Basically, the Calgary Flames ownership, they basically all need to be Rochambeau'd.
Yes. With steel toe boots.
There we go. Cha-ching. Next, we have a report on the new Atlanta MLS soccer team. Nice. So the MLS has been growing massively, actually, in the last 10 years. It's amazing the growth of soccer in the U.S. and all of these cities getting, most of them even getting actual soccer-specific stadiums, which is very impressive. But Atlanta, they're actually going to share their stadium with the Falcons. The new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is like seats 72,000, whatever. And interestingly enough, that this week Atlanta has been playing just well in the MLS period, so they're actually in contention for a playoff spot, which is amazing for an expansion team. But on top of that, this week they actually opened the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And they set a new Major League Soccer record by selling the place out and having over 72,400 people. So that's a new attendance record for the MLS.
Atlanta's playing more people for soccer than LA is for football.
Exactly.
Interesting thing with that new stadium too. Arthur Blank has kind of gone old school here. So you have this state-of-the-art stadium. You think everything be jacked like every other stadium.
For concession prices?
Reasonable concessions.
That's crazy.
$5 beer, $4 souvenir drink. I don't know what a souvenir drink is. $2 refillable drink.
It's like a drink in a fancy cup.
Okay.
With a team logo on it, maybe a cheerleader.
Oh, okay.
Cha-ching.
Regular pop, refillable, $2.
That's insane.
$7 for a pulled pork sandwich.
Wow.
Did I mention the $5 for beer? Like reasonable prices. And not just reasonable prices for all the concessions. They have to stay like that for all events. Whether it's the college football championship later in the year, Falcons games, concerts, no one can jack them up.
That's amazing. In a day where usually you pretty much expect to buy $10 beer no matter what, that's amazing that you actually have an ownership group that's actually being kind and thoughtful of the fans for once in our pocketbooks.
You know, it's we were talking about Bobby Heenan earlier and the irony of guys who are villains in wrestling being good people and vice versa. It's amazing. Arthur Blank, the guy who looks like a comic book villain, is one of the more decent owners in the NFL.
He does. He definitely looks like a Bond villain, that guy. But I tell you what, he is awesome. He is styling and profiling every single time I see him.
Woo!
Arthur Blank, Space Mountain will eat you.
Oh, yes.
Next, we have our fight of the week because Giancarlo Stanton is attacking
A.K. Mike.
Barry Bonds' home run record. That's true. A true story. A few years ago, I was going to a baseball fantasy pool that I'm in, and I was studying up for it, and I saw this name, Giancarlo Stanton, that had all this great reviews, and this guy's going to get 50 home runs. And I was like, who is Giancarlo Stanton? I've never heard of this guy before. But apparently he's been in Major League Baseball for years. And I ended up finding out it's Mike Stanton. And he changed his name. Like, I guess Giancarlo apparently is actually his real name.
Oh, cool.
And I think he's just been doing Mike all these years because I guess he didn't want to admit to his Italian heritage. But it's like Mike/Giancarlo Stanton. Go figure. But this year he's going after Barry Bonds' record, which, so you believe that Barry Bonds is the rightful, legitimate owner of this home run record? Yes,
I do.
You do. Why?
Well, okay, I know Maris has 61. People talk about Bonds being juiced up when he hit a 73. likely a legitimate point. But, I mean, we've talked about this before, the fact that if you're going to take that away, how many other records from that whole era do you have to take away and just strike? And the other thing, too, is even though Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte are the only guilty parties I remember that are pitchers of steroid abuse, I would say there was probably other pitchers who were juiced up. So I think Bonds is probably hitting off juiced up pitchers, too. So maybe it was a level playing field after all. I don't care how big his head is. He holds the record.
Hey, I know with Bobby's head, I always heard those comments, and I never thought his head was that gargantuan. I guess it was. I don't know.
I don't know if it's as bad as people say.
Yeah, because I've seen him. I've seen pictures of him then. I mean, I'm a Barry Bonds fan. I love Barry Bonds. But I'm definitely on the other side of this, that I still think Roger Maris is the legitimate owner of the home run record. Because even though I love Barry Bonds, and he's my favorite player of all time, and I think he's the greatest baseball player of all time, as far as I'm concerned, he never needed the juice, and he only did it.
I would agree with you there.
Because no talent clowns like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were taking away his records.
I would agree with you there, too.
And so that's the only reason he ever did the juice. So if they decided that, we're going to take away his record from the juiced era, I'd say, okay, be fine. I'd have no issue with it. But like you're mentioning, you got to take away everybody. All the records, pitchers, batters, for however many years you determine that they were juicing, they got to get rid of all those records. Pretty much all of their stats have just got to vanish.
Now, here's the thing. Even though we know he was doing it, did they ever really prove he was doing it? Because don't forget, the trainer who supplied him never taught.
That's the thing.
So I mean, you can I agree with your point there, but could you make a legal case to strike that against Bonds?
Yeah, I think legally, I don't think you can, because I don't think it was ever 100% proven.
It's one of those things, we know you did it, but we couldn't prove it.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at his, the stat sheet for any of those guys,
Home runs go up, stolen bases go down.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's like, Sammy Sosa, 30 home runs, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 60. What? And then back to, actually did he even get back to 30, or did he just go like 20, 10, 0?
That's a good question.
Because I know his career just bottomed the second.
But baseball is very, very good to him.
And very good to his bank account.
Yes.
Okay. Before we get to our epic and suck of the week, you wanted to talk about Kyrie Irving versus LeBron.
Oh yeah. I don't like the way either one of these guys have handled this, but I don't really care much. But I find it more amusing than anything. And I know there's been people freaking out about Kyrie Irving not informed. Why didn't Kyrie Irving talk to LeBron and stuff like that? I'm going to throw out a counterpoint to this, too. Because apparently there's been reports that just in the last week, I believe LeBron was out in LA looking at private schools for his children, allegedly. Allegedly, the rumors are going to LA next year. So I pose this question. People are in Kyrie Irving's case for not talking to LeBron. But let's just say if Kyrie Irving was still in Cleveland, do you think LeBron would be running it by him about checking out private schools for his kids next year?
Let me think about that. No.
So no. Just everyone chill out. You didn't need to tell him anything.
Relax.
Yeah. You got one guy could have handled it better, and you have LeBron being passive aggressive being LeBron.
I think it's a case that Kyrie, Cleveland fans, I understand why you would feel hurt that this guy is asked to leave your team, but realistically, he's not leaving the team because he hates the fans or hates the city or anything. He basically just wants to prove that he can win on his own. Well, that's basically it, I think.
I agree with you, but I don't blame Cleveland fans because we always have that slant to the home team.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone else in North America I don't get. Why'd you do it?
Why, Barry? Why? And you also wanted to comment on Kevin Durant versus himself.
This is just epic.
Fake news has spread to Twitter, people.
Yes. So apparently the thought is it looks like he went on he had another dummy account set up, but mistakenly actually went on his account and was speaking about himself in the third person about the reasons why Kevin Durant wanted him to vote Oklahoma City.
Hey, Mind! I think the Mind is the greatest sports commentator in history. Why, thank you. Random commentator?
No, I think the body is better. I like him. He has a personality. What do you mean it's under my name?
Oh, man. KD, you make, what, $30 million a year? Hire some like college kid to write your Twitter for you.
Well, that is the question. Was it actually him, or did he have someone hired and the hired person was incompetent or made a mistake?
Well, then that person needs to be like fired and then shipped off to I don't know, like Zambia or something.
He needs to go.
And then Kevin Durant himself needs like a swift kick in the butt for allowing this to happen in the first place.
Kevin Durant versus himself.
Oh my Lord. And we come down to our last segment, as always. It is our epic and our suck of the week. The moment we thought was the most epic and the moment we thought sucked the most. Buddy, what do you got?
My epic moment, I usually try to stay away from my Oakland Raiders because that'd be an easy go-to, but this week it's worthwhile. Marshawn Lynch's sideline dance was priceless. That was fantastic. And not only that, but on Sunday before the game, he opened 5 different posts in Oakland handing out free Skittles.
Nice.
That's gold. Marshawn, welcome to the Raiders. Epic suck of the week. Oh, the Triple G Alvarez fight and the judging and the controversial decision.
What? In boxing?
Boxing?
No.
Oh, no, I couldn't believe it. Did we talk about it? Wasn't this brought up last week?
It was. You had actually mentioned, and this is amazing because you had predicted that Canelo Alvarez has basically been dubbed the pretty boy, the next one in boxing, and that if this goes to the scorecard, basically it's going to Alvarez no matter what Triple G does. Lo and behold, it went to the scorecard, and look what happened.
Boom. So Adelaide Bird, the judge in question, to say the least, has a track record of these controversial decisions.
Oh.
In 2008, Joe Calzaghe, I don't know how to pronounce it, British boxer, he fought Bernard Hopkins. Other judges scored at 116-111 and 115-112 for Calzaghe. Bird 114-113 for Hopkins. In 2010, questionable decision for Leonard Garcia over Nan Fan at the Ultimate Fighter 12 finale. November 2016, the Pacquiao-Vargas undercard. A questionable 118-110 scorecard for Jesse Magdaleno.
Hey, that 118-110 sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. Over Nonito Donaire. Other judges scored at 116-112. When I looked, if you include those all together, she had at least 9 questionable decisions over her career that conflicted with other judges noticeably.
Unbelievable.
Which breeds the old De Niro line from the movie Casino. At that point, she's either incompetent or she's in on it. Either way, she has to go.
Other places give you second chances. Boxing gives you 9.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Nevada Athletic Commission gives you 9. That is very good. My epic and suck of the week. My epic, oddly enough, is actually also from the Oakland Raiders game. But this is basically has to do with basically the guy that's holding the current down marker. So I don't know what that guy's called. But yeah, you got basically just some schmuck hanging out in the sideline, wearing the ref's uniform, holding on to the third down marker. And in one play, New York Jet player crashed into this guy. Now, when you first look at it, the two crashed, the two hit each other, fell to the ground. That's the end of it. But if you look at that play closely, if you look at it in replay, you'll notice that as soon as the Jet player ran into that sideline, the down holding guy, the down holding guy actually gave him a clothesline to the Jet player and clotheslined him down to the ground.
Even the officials are physically dominating the New York Jets this year.
Boom. so that current down holder, you are epic in my eyes. My suck of the week comes from the world of English Premier League soccer. Frank de Boer, who is the coach of Crystal Palace soccer team, So Crystal Palace has been a team that's been in the English Premier League for at least the last decade as a regular fixture, and they're more of a mid-table to bottom-table team. But this year they decided they want to start to move up in the world. They want to move on up. So Crystal Palace hired this Dutch coach called Frank de Boer, who is a legendary soccer player, one of the greatest of all time, and he wanted him to come in and bring the Dutch style of soccer, which is more purely offense oriented. There's zero defense involved, and it's all about scoring goals and playing the beautiful game beautifully. And this bold new experiment and change in direction for this franchise lasted all of 4 games. 4 games to start the season. Crystal Palace went 0 for 4, and they did not score a single goal. And so after 4 crushing, excruciating, painful games in the English League, they figured, that's enough. We got to fire this guy.
That's the base of commitment. That's a base of success for any organization is commitment.
Absolutely, because there's no way that you can recover in the remaining 34 games to come. Impossible. We have got to plug this shiv instantly.
Nip it in the bud.
In the bud. The Vice-Sec of the week is for the Crystal Palace management. And that wraps up our show for another week. Once again, please like us and or subscribe to our channel. And for myself, the mind, body, thank you again for another show.
Thank you, mind. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure is all yours. And this has been another episode of the Body and Mind Sports Show.